I'm Nana and I've been at Trent for 5 years now. So I first came to Trent in my first year of university. I came with a friend and at first I was quite intimidated by how big Trent was. My church at home is a lot smaller. So I had this maybe preconception that in a bigger church, it's quite easy to get lost in the weeds, that there'd be so many people that no one even noticed me. But I remember talking to people at integration, talking to some student team and getting to know my small group leaders and feeling like, not just that they wanted me to join the church or wanted to get to know me, but they cared about my life. And they also cared about me knowing about them and knowing what they did and knowing about their lives, that it felt so authentic and so real and so genuine that I didn't feel like I was just going to fall through the cracks. It felt like this was somewhere to be known, somewhere to be seen. And that was really, really cool.
Hi, I'm Celia.
And I'm Martin.
And we've been at Trent for 22 years.
So how did we come to join Trent? We need to go back to the early 80s. So we felt strangely drawn to John Wimber, the Vineyard movement. I saw an advert in some of the computer press about this job in California, and I was offered the job. During the 6 months while we were waiting for a visa to come through, we realised that we'd actually be living only about 40 minutes from where John Wimber was based. So we absolutely knew that we needed to seek out that church. It became clear that we needed to come back to the UK, which was a bit devastating. We then got a phone call from some American friends telling us that John and Debbie were setting up Trent. I now realise this was a word for us from the Lord, but ignored it. When that time came, as we'd already listened to all the vision tapes and got all the leaflets, we knew that we needed to leave where we were properly, come, join a small group and start to serve on a team. So that was it. In June 2000, we joined Trent.
So hi, my name's Alita. I've been at Trent basically my whole life. Being part of Trent Youth has been life-changing for me. I think without it, I'd be a very different person. It's definitely something that's helped me develop my journey through faith and develop myself as a person, really. Just through friendships, through making leaders. I mean, once at this DTI, I had an experience where I just cried so much during worship, and I had one friend just holding me, another friend just holding my hand, and it's just something you won't get with most places, and it's just like a safe place, really, coming to Trent Youth. The leaders at Trent Youth are something special. They are like friends that you can get support from. They're always there for a laugh, but they're also always there if you're ever going through anything you need any help with, and it's just kind of very chill, there's no pressure or anything, there's no judgment.
Hi, my name's Antonio. I've been part of Trent now for about 2.5, 3 months. Yeah, I crossed many boundaries when I was younger. I started smoking, started to get in with the wrong crowd, and things progressed. So what started off as fun and hedonism turned into serious addiction, which brought me to my knees, basically. I was looking for this perceived spirituality, something that the media put across as freedom, and I was just chaining myself to nonsense, basically, to what I perceived spirituality was. Joss sticks, crazy music, taking the legs off my bed and calling it a futon. Yeah, I didn't have a clue. I just knew there was something missing and I had to fill it. So my first real encounter with Jesus was with a Teen Challenge outreach, and visiting there for the wrong reasons at first, for cups of tea on a cold night, for food. But slowly they introduced me to a Bible that I'd known about since I was a child, but never really engaged with. And I was told something really simple, that God loved me. And that was just a changing point. That was a game changer in my life. I thought, how could God love me? I've been nothing but selfish all my life, and I'd hurt people, told them lies, but I was told that didn't faze God. He loved me, and that was it. The chains flew away, and yeah, it was just simply amazing.
I really valued being part of the student YA community. I remember in my second year of uni, I had a really hard time with just feeling so much pressure on myself and just really struggling with feeling like there was just a lot on my shoulders and I just couldn't handle it. And what I really valued about the student community and my student small group was a space to not be okay, where I felt like I could honestly just be like, I'm falling apart, the end, and not have to say I'm falling apart, but everything is great, the end. You know, I had the space to be able to say I'm not okay, and that be enough, and not necessarily just want to hear the good stuff, not just want to hear the end of the testimony, but actually want to be part of the rest of the story. So that's something that I really valued during my time at university. And when I was in my fourth year, I led a small group, a student small group, and I absolutely loved that. But it was really difficult because it was during the COVID year. And I remember I was leading with two guys, so I was sort of in charge of the girls, and I'd have times where that was really overwhelming and really difficult. Like I'd feel really anxious or just feel like it was all on my shoulders. But what I really valued about the guys that I led with was I could just tell them that I was really struggling or that I was anxious, and then we like worked around it. Like we're like, oh, then we need to figure out a way that makes us all feel comfortable, that we can all do this. And it's had such a great support group with those guys that I actually felt like even if I wasn't okay, even if I was too tired to do a small group, I can completely rely on them and they can completely rely on me, that we had that like foundation of this is how we're going to do small group. We're going to do small group in a way that we don't have to run on empty, which was really, really awesome.
When we first came, we wanted to get involved in a small group, so we looked to see what was close to us and we joined one near to home. What we didn't realise was it was a post-student group, so everybody was finding their first jobs and dating, and anyway, we sort of were double their age, but we decided to join it anyway. We really had fun there. Our own kids who had just left home, they were calling it our surrogates. So it became family, and that's been an ongoing sort of dialogue at home. How's your surrogates?
Yeah, so I was living in a Christian community in Bristol, and I took my eyes off God. I relied on my own strength and resources, and I fell back into the darkness again. But with loving Christians around me, encouraging me to step out into the light, we found out about the Carpenter's Arms, and I applied, and that's what brought me to Loughborough, to reconnect with God again. Since being part of Trent, my relationship with God has strengthened. You know, He's showing up in so many different places. I act surprised, but I shouldn't be. He's the creator of the universe, but He's been so good. He's been so good to me. I don't deserve it, but He still loves me. Yeah, He loves Trent.
Yeah, so I was asked a while back to share my testimony, like just a short 5-minute testimony. I started speaking and I had it all written out and everything. And then all of a sudden, this word came into my head that I hadn't heard since RS in like year 11. And it was omnibenevolent, which means God all-loving. And I found that a really powerful word when I first learned it. It was a word that fully described the love of God, because I feel like love just wasn't a big enough word. All of a sudden, my phone went off and I couldn't see my speech that I'd already planned out. So I just rolled with it, and to be honest, couldn't really tell you what I said. All I know is I said the word omnibenevolent a lot of times. And I sat down and I was like, oh mate, to my mate, and was like, that was awful. Just went off the rails, didn't really speak about what I wanted to speak. And she was like, no, it was great, it was great. And when I was on the stage, there was this one girl that I noticed just sat there, and for some reason she kind of struck a chord with me, and I was like, didn't really know what really was of it. But I sat back down, kind of forgot about it, and then worship started, and I got really thirsty, like really, really thirsty. So I went over to go get a drink of water, and in that moment I saw her again. I was like, maybe I should probably go speak to her. So I walked over and I started speaking to her, and without going into too much detail, but like, she started opening up to me. She was basically just saying it's what she needed to hear at that time. I haven't spoken to her since, I don't think, but I found out that she ended up giving her life to Jesus, which was quite cool. When I heard that she was getting baptised, I was in a bit of disbelief. I couldn't believe that God had moved through me at that moment. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Like, little old me wouldn't have thought that. But at the same time, I was absolutely overjoyed, because just hearing anyone getting baptised is incredible. It's like an incredible feeling. And knowing that I'd had this conversation with this girl and knowing what she'd told me and things, it was very special, because I was not expecting it at all.
So we've been doing refreshments for years, ages and ages, and people often ask us, why still doing it? What we did find was right at the beginning, John Wright set the standard. We had tables, mismatched tables, but we had oilcloths that went over these tables that John had written notes on the back of, so we knew exactly how to lever, fold the cloths on so that everything looked very smart. And I guess we've tried to move that forward. So now in the refreshments cupboard, we've got a document, it's got pictures in, it's laminated, and it tells people how to set up refreshments. So yeah, we've loved that attention to detail that there is at Trent.
And doing refreshments, leading the refreshments, we can lead that together, which is what we want to do, and we complement each other. Yeah. Celia does all the people-friendly stuff, and I do all the admin and organisation, and it works, doesn't it?
Yeah, keeps me on track. And I love refreshments. The other week, just a couple of weeks ago, I was trying to talk to somebody with Google Translate. You know, our community here has expanded and grown, and not everybody does speak English, and it's great, you know, Google Translate, fine.
So I'm quite naturally like scientifically inclined mind. So with like gifts of the Spirit, I was always really confused by that, and I was a bit skeptical, especially with healings. I remember just never understanding healings in a huge way. I always just thought, like, how is that even happening like that? Like, I didn't believe them, just fully, I'm going to be honest, I didn't believe them. But recently I felt like God was prompting me to try that a bit more, and something that's massively encouraged us at church anyway. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it a go. And I remember going to pray for this lady during ministry time, and she asked for a specific word. Like, she was like, I'm asking God for something very specific, and I want to know what he's saying. So, like, you know, pray into that, like, I'm hoping you'll say that, which is the scariest thing ever. So I remember like praying for her and almost praying for myself in that moment of being like, God help her, but also God help me. And so I was praying and just like praying to see what God was saying, what if there was a word on my heart, and if I got anything. And then so I said what I felt like God was saying. And then she looked at me and she said, that's word for word what he said to me this week. And that genuinely, that just blessed my heart so much. And that's something that I got to see, was that doing the stuff and doing, like, stepping out in God's gifts and stepping out in spiritual gifts, it doesn't just bless the other person. Praying for the people doesn't just bless the other person. It's almost a gift God's giving us to also bless us at the same time. Where in that moment I walked away, I don't know if I'll say equally, but probably equally as blessed as this lady. I was just amazed at the power of God, and knowing that, getting to that he's working in other people. I don't fully understand this stuff. I don't fully understand spiritual gifts, but I don't need to in order to partake in them. I don't need to in order to see what God's doing and see that it's still amazing. And I think that's something that, like, being at Trent and being encouraged to do that and step into that a bit more has allowed me to see that, yes, it doesn't completely make sense to me all the time, and that's kind of the beauty of it, that it is special, it is miraculous.
So one of the things that we've really enjoyed about Trent is that we say that we're naturally supernatural, and that's what we've been looking for all our lives, really, that our Christian faith becomes natural and yet it's supernatural. So I remember a time when we were at the county ground and we were on the refreshment team, and I'd gone to get the big sharp knife to cut the melon up, and Debbie we were all setting up, clearing up from the night before, and Debbie said to me, how are you, Celia? And I said, oh, I'm all right, I've got a lot going on at work. And she said, well, let me pray for you, just very, very naturally. But then as we started to pray, and I was holding this big knife, she said, let me just take that knife off you. And she put it to one side and carried on praying. So love that naturally supernatural emphasis that we have at Trent. Yeah, we've learned so much from Trent, so much from so many people. John and Debbie we love. And you know, their dedication to this church over so many years, we've been really grateful. It's impacted our lives. Or now she might cry.
I'm involved with the Steps Ahead programme. I volunteer here at the Archies on a Thursday. I enjoy doing life in the city, bringing the gospel to the streets of Nottingham. It's a fantastic chance to spread the love. And I've also applied for the job with the conferencing team, which I'm going to be working with now. So yeah, fully involved and immersed in the community. Yeah, it's been a great privilege to see what the Archies ministry does, giving people that platform to create a new life for themselves. It's such a privilege to be part of that.
My faith has changed a lot since being part of Trent. I came in year 7, a very full-on Christian girl, Jesus my whole life and everything. And then life gets in the way a little bit, and you go to secondary school and sixth form and stuff, and things happen, you meet people, and I slowly started drifting away. But coming to Trent and making sure I stayed regularly, it was one of those where I always knew I had a place. No matter what was going on, I knew if I came here, there'd be someone who was happy to see me, kind of thing. And that was very special. And when it came to faith in that, I think when I was going through some hard times, it was when no one else would care, I knew church cared, and which then was oh, maybe there's something to this kind of thing. Maybe there's something to this whole story. And eventually just got prayed for, and ended up completely just being you know what, actually, yeah, I am back to that year 7 girl who's full-on Christian. But it always has your ups and downs. There's never gonna be a person who's never been fully, yeah, Lord, all the time. But it's one of those where coming to Trent, it just makes you realise no one judges you, really. No matter what you're going through, if you're questioning your faith, they just want to be there to support you, which is a really cool feeling.
If I had to describe Trent Vineyard in one word or phrase, I would describe it as Holy Spirit driven. This absolute desire to pursue what the Holy Spirit is doing. It's really cool.
If I had to describe Trent Vineyard in just one phrase or just a few words, I'd say a welcoming community.
And I'd say fantastic.
So if I had to describe Trent in a phrase, it would be bringing hope in a hopeless time.
Trent in one word or phrase, I would just have to say family. Just family. Nothing else about it. I can't really say anything else about it. Yeah.